Just 6 weeks after a handshake promised peace, the border between Thailand and Cambodia is ablaze. Targeted Thai airstrikes have not only shattered the fragile ceasefire, but have put a definitive end to what President Trump called a historic peace agreement. Tonight, we analyze the breakdown, the geopolitical stakes, and the immediate impact on the civilians caught in the crossfire. Good evening. For months, the world watched a simmering conflict between two Southeast Asian neighbors, Thailand and Cambodia, culminate in a ceasefire, followed by a U.S.-brokered accord in Kuala Lumpur. That fragile peace is over. This morning, the Royal Thai Air Force launched a series of targeted airstrikes deep into Cambodian territory, allegedly in response to artillery fire that purportedly killed one Thai soldier and injured 7 others in the most serious cross-border incident in years. Cambodian defense officials, however, have vehemently rejected the Thai narrative, claiming the attacks were entirely unprovoked and citing a pattern of numerous provocative actions by Thai ground forces leading up to the massive air assault. The strike itself represents the most serious escalation since the previous 5-day war, and it directly and explicitly violates the terms of the Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord, the agreement President Donald Trump had personally championed as a significant diplomatic victory for his administration. To truly understand the speed of this collapse, we must look at the foundation of the conflict, which is less about recent politics and more about history and deep-seated nationalism. The border dispute between these two nations is rooted in ambiguous colonial-era French demarcation lines drawn up in the early 1900s. The central flashpoint remains the Preah Vihear Temple, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. While the International Court of Justice ruled in 1962 that the temple itself belongs to Cambodia, the exact surrounding territory, the key access points, and the land adjacent to the temple remains hotly contested and militarized. The peace agreement sought to establish joint economic zones and commit both sides to clear unexploded ordnance, but critical analysts warned that it failed to fully resolve these core territorial claims. The deal was constructed more out of political necessity and international pressure rather than genuine reconciliation. And just weeks after the signing, incidents involving landmines and border patrol skirmishes, which Thailand immediately blamed on Cambodia, signaled that the truce was already failing. Now, the official deployment of Thai F-16 fighter jets to strike Cambodian positions marks a dangerous new chapter, a swift return to heavy, conventional force that risks spiraling out of control. Joining us now to discuss the immediate geopolitical implications is Dr. Anya Sharma, a leading Southeast Asian political analyst. Dr. Sharma, President Trump invested significant personal capital in this deal, even reportedly threatening severe sanctions and tariffs on both nations to force compliance. How does this abrupt attack reflect on U.S. influence in the region? Dr. Sharma, this is, without question, a massive blow to the administration's image as a global peacemaker. It immediately exposes the inherent limits of transactional diplomacy when dealing with deep-seated, century-old nationalistic and historical grievances. The U.S. leveraged enormous economic pressure to secure a signature, but it fundamentally failed to create a sustainable mechanism for trust and peace. The perception now, both regionally and globally, will be that the U.S. brokered a temporary truce, not a lasting resolution. Washington will now face the excruciating choice of either re-engaging to save the agreement or letting the parties fight and watching its credibility fade. The geopolitical contest between the U.S. and China is also a major factor here. Cambodia has been drawing significantly closer to Beijing, receiving substantial military hardware and aid. Conversely, Thailand remains a traditional U.S. security partner and is notably using American-made jets in this strike. This conflict therefore risks becoming a flashpoint where the strategic interests of Washington and Beijing clash indirectly. How serious is the threat to regional stability and to ASEAN unity? The threat is exceptionally serious. This conflict could easily be militarized and leveraged by both global powers. For ASEAN, the regional bloc, this is an existential test. ASEAN's core principle is non-interference, but they have already struggled immensely to mediate effectively between two of their own member states. If they cannot quickly and forcefully bring both Thailand and Cambodia back to the table, the entire bloc's relevance will be questioned, creating a power vacuum that Beijing is very well positioned to fill, increasing its dominance across mainland Southeast Asia. But the most immediate crisis is humanitarian. The fighting has forced massive evacuations, with Thai military officials confirming they are moving over 385,000 civilians out of 4 key border districts. Families are fleeing to makeshift temporary shelters, fearing a return to the long, devastating war of attrition the two nations fought previously. With the confirmed use of F-16 fighter jets and heavy artillery, the risk of widespread civilian casualties and a protracted crisis has skyrocketed. The world is demanding restraint. Malaysia, as the current ASEAN chair, is urging both sides to immediately de-escalate, and the UN Security Council is scheduled to meet in an emergency closed-door session tomorrow morning to discuss possible resolutions and sanctions. However, with nationalist fervor ignited on both sides, the political path back to the negotiating table looks much longer and more difficult than it did just yesterday. The peace deal is not just hanging in the balance. It appears to have irrevocably collapsed, dragging the entire region into renewed uncertainty. We will continue to track the international response and the ongoing situation on the Thai-Cambodian border. For the latest updates, stay tuned to our website and social channels. Good night.